Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you're listening to this podcast. The second edition of this week sees us convening again on the 25th of June, 2020, to kind of hone in on the news in the news cycle. And I'm joined by my panel, as per usual, made up of Mazola Mulefe. I've got John T. Mark and Verile Mnyandu coming through just to discuss some of the matters at hand. Gents, before we get started, did you all make the trip? Because the bottle stores don't open tomorrow, yeah?
Yes, I made my trip. I made my trip this morning. Ish, I shouldn't say morning, but yeah.
You were camping outside Macro.
Funny story. I was at the grocery store when they opened at 8 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And I was buying other things, but then I didn't realize that the wine section only opens at 9. So I had to kind of like walk around until they opened at 9 o'clock.
Just lurk. Be a lurker, lurking around, Mazola. Wow.
But it's surprising how some shelves are empty. Eh? So I think people are still stockpiling. Eh?
Thinking that the government might just rescind our privileges.
Yeah, just for booze. Yeah, no. I mean, there are brands that I was looking for there. Okay, I'm a gin person.
Right.
Yeah. So
preparation is everything, gentlemen. I had a courier truck come with a couple of cases.
There we go. There we go. Courier. Door to door. All right, gents, let's get into the news. Let's start with the story, the one that's kind of breaking or has been in the cycle about Rulani Mokoena as far as his position at Chippa United. I mean, we thought he was going to see it through to the end of the season, like we expect players to. But we'll speak about those because as well, there's things happening where players aren't committing to sticking it through. Why didn't he, Mazola?
Yeah, it's a very strange arrangement, I must be honest. I mean, obviously, it was a strange arrangement from the beginning. The fact that, obviously, Rulani became the first, I think probably in world history, but definitely in South African football history to be sort of loaned out to another club before the expiry of his contract. It was unprecedented as it was.
Yeah.
And then obviously been in charge of one game, which I don't particularly think it's anybody's fault because then Corona struck and then football was halted. Possibly he probably would have finished the season because also that the chairman had been speaking highly of him, Chairman Chippa Mpengesi, that is. And then now all of a sudden, just as government gives the green light for football to return, the club sort of confirms that they've parted company and the coach will not be there beyond June 30. So this means when football kicks off, whenever that is in the coming weeks or months, or even as clubs begin training, maybe even next week, that he will not, Rulani will not be available. He will not be the head coach of Chippa United. So yeah, it's a strange arrangement. Obviously, I done a story yesterday when the story broke, but I was only able to, I know some of my colleagues were able to get hold of the Chippa COO who confirmed that Rulani was indeed moving on. But I only was able to speak to Rulani's agent who confirmed the same, sort of, if two sides of the story, if you like, because last week, I think there were reports and claims that Rulani was difficult to work with, that Rulani threatened to cut the salaries of the players that did not want to come to training. Whether that's a bit unclear to me because was he asking players to come to training under lockdown when they were not given the green light to do so, or was he talking about? Because I know that there are players who are not from Port Elizabeth that were scattered all around the province. Was he asking them to come to PE in preparation of beginning training or risk salary cuts? And then also there was a story that he wanted 400K a month if he signs the new contract at Chippa after the June 30 deadline. I think Lucanyo Mzizi also dismissed those, sort of rumors, and he dismissed the fact that they let him go because of breaching lockdown regulations and all of that. But look, I think, you know, when his contract does eventually expire, maybe we'll get to hear from the man himself, because I think he's been strategically quiet for the moment, and we know when Rulani speaks, he speaks, you know. So so we'll find out soon enough what's the story from his point of view, at least.
I mean, Jonty, it's a strange one because, you know, when you leave, you're not sure what you're leaving to. The team that loaned you out has coaches. The one you're with could do with, you know, just kind of helping you get back in your game for the next month or whatever we have of football when it does return. Why would you snub your nose at that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Sorry, unmute myself. Unless the you know, the contract he was offered wasn't good enough for him, or unless he just some other circumstance came up that he just wanted to get out of there. I don't know. But obviously he cut a rather forlorn figure on the bench at Pirates in the Joseph Zimbauer days, when Fadlu David sort of became the main assistant quite clearly, and he sort of was not really involved that much, and then took a sabbatical, and then ended up on loan at Chippa. I mean, that was very strange, as you gentlemen have said. It's very rare that you see plenty of players go on loan, but it's very rare that you see a coach go on loan to another club. So it was a weird situation. I can't believe he wanted 400k a month. I'm not 100% sure he's that value at the moment in the game if you look at his record at Pirates as a head coach. So I think if I was like, you know, Chippa, you know, and in some sense it's inevitable that Chippa's going to fire or not. I don't know. They seem to go through coaches like they're going out of fashion.
Yeah.
And they just turn over so many coaches that it's not 100% a surprise to see a coach leave Chippa. I think the circumstances in which he's gone are a bit surprising, because it's sort of, like you mentioned, it's in transition this season, and you know, you'd think he'd be the best guy to sort of work with the players to get them back to full fitness, and then to go into the truncated end to the 2019-20 season, which does look like now it's obviously starting to get underway again. So yeah, it's a strange one, and I wouldn't think that Rulani would stay at Pirates if Zimbauer is still there, because it didn't seem like a fit
For sure.
between the two.
Stavej, I mean, on Jonty's point there, you know, usually it's Chippa Mpengesi who's flushing the coaches out, getting them out of there. This time around, it seems like it's not that, because we've heard about how glowingly he's spoken about Rulani. So it seems that it might be something from an animus from the coach's side about staying at Chippa United. Because I would suspect the club want him there. Sorry.
Yeah, interestingly, I think I picked it up earlier this month that Rulani might not be staying there at Chippa. And from what I'm getting, there are different reasons why this is the situation. But it also does seem that he has not been seeing eye to eye with some members of the management, and also some senior players as well. And I think one of the last straw happened to be this issue of breaching the lockdown rules. And now you'll understand that in the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth is the epicenter of COVID. And in the Eastern Cape, the way this whole thing is picking, it's coming at the wrong time. And this was also at a time when the PSL and SAFA were trying to state their case to government on why football should come back. Now you can understand the PR disaster. This thing of going out to train at the beach at a time when professional football, yes, it's been accepted to come back and train, but at that time it has not been approved. And also training at the beach becomes something else. So there are just all these things. And obviously it's difficult to confirm some of these things, because we have not had both sides of the story around it. As Mazola also said, the club now is also saying, no, it's not because of that. But look, sometimes officially you're not always going to get what you want to get. So you have to dig deep in terms of what you know. But look, the other thing is that it appears also as if him and some senior members of the management were also not seeing eye to eye, because there was a feeling that is bypassing them on a number of important things. One of those was to set up meetings with the MEC of sport in the province. Something which a member of technical team should wait maybe for the club management to,
to lead that process.
Yes. So there appears to be some of these things. And there's one of the things that I commended him on having done. And even there, I was surprised, because I felt also it would have been something where they would be working jointly with the management. And I think on reviving relations between the club and the Nelson Mandela University High Performance Center,
right?
So, because that was a good thing. And I think Chippa before had relations with the Nelson Mandela University High Performance Center. So it's one of the things that Rulani also did. Remember, Rulani is a sports science graduate as well,
Right.
So it's not just on a head coach. So it made sense what he was doing. But I think between him and people who were in charge at Chippa, I also had allegations of a friction between him and the senior players. If you recall, at some stage, some players were reported to have left Chippa United, and I remember when we spoke to the chairman of the club, he had to do some damage control after a BOG meeting,
right?
At OR Tambo, So there's been a lot of these things happening in the background, but I also think that maybe they couldn't find each other. Now looking beyond the contract, which is coming to an end, which for me is so unfortunate, because I had seen Chippa United as a club where Rulani can finally launch the career as a head coach.
Right, cut his teeth properly.
At other clubs, he's been in shadow of the head coaches at Sundowns and also at Orlando Pirates, and now at Chippa United. And I saw even the young technical team which he was assembling. So I felt, okay, he's up to something now. But you'll never know. Maybe he already has something lined up for next season. You'll never know.
Of course.
There's a lot of vacancies which seemingly are, are out there in our league currently. I'm sure.
Do you think he might be affordable for a certain club up north?
You will never know. Gauteng is also a province.
Gauteng is also a province. Gauteng is always a province. Stavage, it's always a province. And speaking of which, let's speak about Gauteng. In that SuperSport United, Mazola, you were reporting, also might have to, be frugal and responsible as far as who they let stay and, who they let go. And some people can go out the door for the right price, it would seem.
Yeah, I think, SuperSport have had budget cuts for the 2020-21 season. And my understanding, I'm told, is that because of that, they wouldn't necessarily be able to bring players in, which is why I think they've renewed some of the contracts of the players that they feel are key members of the squad. I mean, even if you look at Buale Fapule, who plays second fiddle pretty much to Ronwen Williams, he's just signed a 3-year contract that now means he'll be at the club more than 10 years. But you still now have a fresh approach from Mamelodi Sundowns for Aubrey Modiba. And I think, a lot of people were asking questions. Well, we keep hearing about Aubrey Modiba and Sundowns every transfer window. It's been happening. It happened the beginning of the season. It happened in January. What makes you believe that it will go through this time around? Well, I believe it could very well go through this time around because of the budget cuts at SuperSport. Yeah, I think if they can sell either of Aubrey Modiba or Teboho Mokoena for a decent fee. I'm talking plus minus, between 8 8 million to maybe 10 or even more potentially, and that could go into the kitty for SuperSport United to, not necessarily. I mean, it's not a staying afloat type of scenario, because they've got backers. Obviously, they've got they've got multi-choice. They've got obviously Showmax. I think that sponsorship could potentially also be renewed beyond the current season, but also to try maybe and bring in some other players. Remember, Sundowns would have to pay big money if they want Aubrey, because Aubrey's contract he renewed for another 4 years, and Teboho Mokoena also signed a new contract up until 2023 with a clause that if were he to go to the Olympics, obviously he signed a renewal of the contract before the Olympics was postponed, and the clause there was that if he went to the Olympics and a European team came knocking, the club would not hold him back. As we know, Stan Matthews is on the record saying they turned down an offer last year from a Bundesliga 2 team. Perhaps the offer was low, but you never know this time around with the budget cut. So look, I see the Aubrey Modiba Sundowns going through this time, especially because of those budget cuts.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it just sounds like, Jonty, they're trying to be frugal and saying, listen, if we can get bang for buck as far as someone looking for a player that they're willing to pay that kind of money for, then we can go and try and, beef up the squad with what we get in. But it also makes it tricky in those times because, clubs now know you're looking, and, trying to find value on the back of losing value is a bit tricky sometimes, unless you've got them lined up before you go.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think what Mazzola said, I've heard the same thing about Modiba, that if Sundowns, who are the primary candidates to buy him, come in with an offer that's acceptable to SuperSport, they may well accept it because of COVID-19, because of the financial difficulties they've run into. Every club's run into. You're going to see a lot of that, I think. A lot of players, perhaps a lot of the clubs with less budget than SuperSport selling off their top players. I think what also, just to add a point, is that just for example, Ikram Reyners is signed for SuperSport, and now Stellenbosch have said to Ikram Reyners, see you later at the end of June.
Yeah.
So SuperSport effectively are going to have to pay Ikram Reyners' salary from July, but he's only going to play for them in October. So they may be taking things like that into consideration as well, in terms of players coming in that they have to now balance the salary budget of the squad. That could also play a role if SuperSport do decide to sell Modiba, who's obviously been a target of Sundowns for some time. But I did also hear that now, with the financial difficulties that everyone is running into as a result of the pandemic, it could well be that if an acceptable offer comes in for Modiba, that SuperSport will sell him to probably Sundowns.
Savage, Aqua need, some would say. I mean, do Sundowns need him in terms of a player? Which, I guess I can understand a player making a move in this economy. That someone's saying they're willing to bump up my money now when the world is all suffering from COVID, probably would want to take it. And that's what Sundowns offers, that they almost as if immune to the current economic situation.
You see, if you look at the situation which has been happening now around Sundowns, in terms of the team that Somo Simane is putting together, you can see he reminds me of one of the things he told me back in 2014, and I think at that time he had just completed his first. I think in 2013, he had completed his first season at Sundowns, and now he was about to have his first preseason. And at the time, he was saying the mission is to refresh Sundowns and bring in young players. And this is exactly what he's doing now, because back then he was saying he's signing players around 22 upwards, so 22, but he was bringing in young players. And I think that at the time it was 22 or 23 when he brought him to Sundowns. So you look at the situation now, he's just brought in Grant Megaman.
Yeah.
There's February coming. There's another former junior international in Ricardo Goss as well. You look
Hashim,
at Hashim also,
Sure.
another youngster coming from Bidvest Vets, but also an Ajax Cape Town product as well with European experience. There's another under 23 international with Olympic credentials as well. In Gift Motupa. You just look at some of the players, and I think they could be snatching one or two players from this Bidvest reserve team as well. And pack them in their MTC team. So Sundowns now is on a mission to refresh the team. And when you look at Modiba, this is a player he's always been looking for, and he's always been looking at getting someone to help Langerman at left back. And when you look at Modiba is that modern left center back. In fact, is that modern left wing back? Will fit.
No, he fits.
Perfect. So they've always wanted him, and I can tell you right now, I think there was a report that they also want Klanti, but once Modiba, it became clear that is available, they've left that. They've gone back to the Modiba option. So I expect them to go for him, especially because when they brought in Lebusa has also played left back. But I think if there's one, there was a game where Bafana, I think they were playing against Costa Rica and Honduras.
Right.
It proved not to be a good option to have Lebusa at left back there, and he's comfortable for Sundowns playing at left center back.
Right.
So I think there's not a question about this one. And Modiba also is someone who needs to take his place even at Bafana. Playing Champions League football with a club like Sundowns regularly in that space, a regular top 8 team on the continent. So for me, I think this is a perfect match. And like Mazola was also saying, I mean, Stan was very clear, even when he had an online presser with us at SAFA, that this is one window where clubs are going to be forced to sell. They're forced to sell. But I don't think it will be a good decision for Mokoena to go to Sundowns. No, I don't think so. Especially now that they've got Grand Megaman there and they've got a number of players there. It would mean that one of the two Grand Megaman or Mokoena will always be on the bench.
Right.
Which is not good. It's not going to be good for us still going to the Olympics next year.
For sure.
I feel that if there's an opportunity for SuperSport to release Mokoena to an overseas team, let them do that, even if it's at a reduced rate.
Okay, there we go. Okay, great. Thank you. I asked it like that because I knew you would put it like that. So let's move on to this one with SAFA. In the news yet again, a story here by Mark Stadium about them paying 8.6 million rand in honorariums. Or no, am I saying that right? Or honorariums, yeah, owed to itself. I don't know if you guys saw this one. It's quite a bit of cash. Mazola, I mean, is this, because I'll be honest, this is the first time I've ever heard of this term.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
it is.
Honorarium for their patronage. They were.
Oh, I wasn't saying all of that. It was for their help, for their services. That's the thing I don't understand about it. That what is the payment for? Kidangi.
Yeah, look, I'm also confused. I mean, they are retrenching. They've applied for the COVID-19 relief fund from the sports ministry, but yet they are writing off certain losses and all of that, but not money that's supposed to come to them. I mean, obviously SAFA spokesperson Dominic Chimavi, sort of. I mean, he doesn't deny it. If I read his statement, he doesn't necessarily deny it in its entirety. He just kind of tries to say,
we get them 50% off. Yeah, 50% off.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's an old story and that's not the correct amount. He's not saying that's not true. He's not saying, no, that's not true. Nobody has been paid anything, which is, it's shambles really. And it kind of speaks, it goes with the same theme of what we've been dealing with SAFA over the last couple of weeks, that really, really, really things have to change, because if this is our mother body kind of operating in this fashion, we are on a hiding to nothing, to be honest. Hiding to nothing.
John T, what's strange is I don't know which came first in the whole process, but them kind of writing off this money to the regions and then saying, oh yeah, but we're gonna pay out this part. Like, I'm wondering if the regions that are affected, if they knew this, if they would have agreed to the write-offs, and maybe saying, why not include that amount in the write-offs then? If you're writing off what we're getting, why not write it off for everyone?
I don't know, Kamza. Everything that this association is doing at the moment smells a bit funny to me. Seems a bit dodge. I'm not sure. Like, where's this 8.5 million come from? My first thought when you said the word honorarium was, I'm going to have to Google that, because I don't know what it means.
Right.
I just feel like, with what's happening at the top of SAFA, it's like you've got your vice president. Anybody who goes against the president leaves. Like, they've talked about retrenchments, all these salary cuts, and now they want to give themselves all these millions of rand. It's fishy.
No, it's only 240,000 rand per person. Okay.
Oh, is that all?
Only 240,000 rand per person. There's a gang of them. That's why it adds up so quickly and to so much money. But yeah, 240,000 rand.
These times it's fishy, and I don't know the details of that story. I did miss it myself, but it doesn't sound very kosher to me at all. And it just it's on the theme of sort of, it's on a theme that SAFA are not seem to be behaving in a way that's very sort of autocratic and very very strange.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one. I mean, if you look at what the state that the association is in, Velile, how do you, as the leadership, take anything from it when it's not, it's literally in its dying throes? You're applying for funding from the government, like a small little association. It's weird.
I think Kamza right there for me is the most disappointing thing around this thing. Because the story talks about the 50 million rands, which has been written off. And if you look between the two, the regions need this money more. The regions are the lifeblood of football in the country. Without those regions, Kamza, your Kaizer Chiefs, your Orlando Pirates, your Mamelodi Sundowns, your Free State Stars, your, you can mention all these teams, your TTM, they don't have the talent. The talent doesn't just fall from the trees or mushrooms from anywhere, It comes from those clubs in the districts, in the LFAs, in the regions.
Yeah.
Now, if you are saying you are writing off 50 million rands that is supposed to go to those guys, firstly, in the regions, there's the SAB Regional League. SAB is no longer there as the sponsor. So where are these regions going to be? Where are they supposed to come from? The money is supposed to come from the FA. So now if you're saying already, some of the guys I've been talking to, they're saying, what regions are you talking about? Because some of these regions are dysfunctional. Don't even go and talk about the LFAs. And now you are telling me about honorariums. I mean, if you're talking about honorariums, you're talking about 2017. 2017, some of the members who were there in 2017, they're not even part of the structure currently, part of this NEC now, and you talk about this, I mean, some of these people, they've been appointed as HODs, they go to international tournaments, and, on top of that, they still need this money, So the way I was reading the story, and it's disappointing, especially at a time when the FA is struggling without sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
The FA has just came out, they are retrenching people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just a whole lot of things going on around the FA, you know?
Yeah.
So now we talk about, it's for me, it's matters of lack of leadership.
Because change that entire hierarchy. Just change it. No, just change that entire
How do you get it out without having government intervention, which is not allowed, which is, you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing is
because it opens it. So I'm saying it opens it up. It opens it up also to, you know, to sort of the changing of the constitution as well. When the term is about to end, then somehow there's an extraordinary meeting of the NEC to allow for another term, an extension. So you're quite right, Kamza. How do you change a system that is so formulated in such a manner that you can manipulate the rules and regulations and stay in power for as long as you can absolutely hold on to it. So yeah, it's difficult. The answer, I really don't know, but something has to give.
But my question is, why are the regions silent? You know?
Because they know what happens when you speak up, Velile. They saw what Real Drama was doing the other day. They see what happens.
Yeah.
Why would you speak up? What incentive is there?
Yeah, no, but look, and I read the quotes from the FA in this article responding. To me, it doesn't come across as like they understand how serious is this thing. You know, we talk about half-baked information, but for me, this is very disappointing. If there was an indication that the people who are in charge of our leadership don't really care about the tomorrow of our game, it's in this article. You know, it's in this article. Because like I'm saying to you, there is no professional football without these 52 regions.
Right.
You know, this is where the players are supposed to be coming from. And the people who are in charge of our FA don't see the need, because remember, they've already said that for this year, the legacy, the 2010 legacy fund money is depleted.
Sure.
You know, I mean, one of the things, the technical officers, you know, the technical officers, these were people who were at least bringing some form of identity, some form of organization, technically in the regions,
right,
and also in the provinces. They are said to be doing away with the technical officers.
Yeah, but apparently the SAFA will come out and say, no, we're renewing their contracts. Apparently that's the mandate of the new CEO.
8.6 million for the suits. Yeah. They've got 8.6 million for the people who just come, attend meetings, sleep in the hotels, fly business class sometimes, you know?
I hear you. Really, it's egregious. It is egregious. It is egregious. Let's hope that money will be redirected.
Yes, if you love football, this is not good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I hope the sanity does prevail and that money gets channeled back to the regions. It's nowhere near 50 million, but 8 million is better than nothing at this stage. Surely. It has to be.
Because regions need the money, Kamza. Regions need the money.
For sure.
Some regions, I'm told, they've even closed offices.
Yeah.
They owe electricity, they owe rates, you know? Some regions are dysfunctional. I mean, you have a situation, one of the biggest regions and the most productive region in the country, it used to be South KZN then, but it's now SAFA Etekwini. For years, that region has not been functioning in the right way because there have been politics. There's two leaderships there, you know, there's two structures.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you about the region which has got two PSL teams, Amazulu and Golden Arrows. And now you can imagine that those teams and also other first division teams, they are development teams play in those amateur structures, you know?
Yeah. Hey, okay, gents, before we go, we're going to play a little on a lighthearted note. Sweepstakes. we've been approved to train and football to come back. I want to get your best guess as to when we will hear the plan. I'm going to make a note, and then come Monday when we meet again, we'll see if you're right. So, Mazola, let's start with you.
I can pipe in here with not today because
Yeah, of course. Well done, John C.
From the PSL, sorry, but he's just sent a message saying the EXCO meeting has been adjourned again, which is the message that we're getting almost every time.
There we go. So give me your best guess, gents. We'll reflect on Monday.
Seeing as I've jumped in rudely
go
and
for it.
interrupted everything, I'm going to guess that you want to know when the PSL are going to say something.
When we're going to hear this plan, this amazing plan.
When we're going to hear the plan. Well, we did with the South African Football Journalists Association, we did have a chat with Rulani and Mokoena today, the SAFA's chief medical officer, and he gave us quite a lot of insight into how that plan will work, which I'm not going to go into now because we've got like 2 minutes. But I would want to say that I think by the beginning of July, we're going to hear something.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. By the beginning of July, we're going to hear something. But the problem is, I don't want to get into that. I'm going to say by the beginning of July, we're going to hear something, but maybe not everything. I think August is a good guess for when the season may start again. Sometime.
Okay, great. And because you're all card-carrying members of SAFJA, I'm going to take your members' answer, spread it across all of you, and then we're going to leave it at that.
The difficult part here is that there's the issue of the hotspots.
Yes.
Hotspots. And most importantly, whatever place they choose to go to, the last 2 rounds of the PSL and also First Division
have to be played.
You have to play the game simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need 8 venues.
In the same place. In the same place.
Yeah.
Food for thought. Food for thought. Yo, an enviable job, whoever has to come up with this plan. I want to see it. I'm still anticipating. We all do, obviously. Let's see. But thanks for that little insight, SAFJA members. I'll catch you on Monday, guys. Have a good weekend. Look after yourselves. Thank you very much for your time.
SAFJA rules.